From Ohio University, you're watching WOUB2, television for Athens County.
The business of Valentine's Day, how local companies are faring during the holiday.
Drug criminals are filling up local prisons, but could they end up back on the streets?
And some local folks take a dive into the frigid water for a good cause. Athens MidDay is just ahead. Technology leaders at Ohio University try to reassure students and faculty their internet information is indeed safe after the big hack at OSU. Good Valentine's Day afternoon to you. I'm Stephanie Crease.
And I'm Connor Kiesel. More on that story in a bit, but first, the war on drugs in Athens County continues. The investigation continues into the Athens Police Department arrest of a college-age man for possessing illegal narcotics. This is part of an ongoing investigation involving drug trafficking within the Ohio University student population. The man is charged with possession of cocaine and ecstasy. 20-year-old Atul Kanak Amin was booked into the Southeastern Ohio Regional Jail on Friday on charges of drug possession. Police are not confirming that Amin is the man arrested on Friday. It's drug users, not dealers, that could be most affected by the governor's latest proposal. John Kasich says prisons in Ohio are overcrowded and expensive. He believes one way of easing both these problems is to keep nonviolent offenders out of prison. Athens MidDay reporter Heather Moore is here live to tell us if this plan is implemented, drug users will stay on the streets.
Yes, Connor, about 3/4 of those behind bars are there for drug-related crimes, and the warden at the Southeastern Ohio Regional Jail says the problem is only getting worse. The number of drug offenders being sentenced is growing every year.
Actually, there's been an explosion of drug use over the past year.
One of the tools in fighting that problem is mandatory minimum sentencing laws.
Mandatory time is not meant to target individuals simply using. It's meant to target those who have sold or those with such a large amount of drugs that are illegal that there's a perception that they're selling. The primary purpose of sentencing is to punish the offender and protect the public.
These laws have been around for 24 years. If a person is caught with a certain amount of drugs, they are required to serve prison time. Depending on the amount, it could range from 1 year or to as much as 20.
Prisons are overpopulated, so I think that the mandatory sentencing, contributes to that overpopulation.
And drug usage has not decreased.
I've been here for 13 years, and I think that, over the past 5, the drug problem in this area in general has gotten, kind of out of control.
Over the past 10 years, Southeastern Ohio Regional Jail has added 32 beds. Each bed costs the county $51 a day, even if somebody's not in it. For Athens County alone, that costs $1.4 million a year. Almost all funding to prevent drug abuse is spent to keep people in prison. According to the conservative research group RAND, treatment is much more effective than prison time. The organization Drug Abuse Resistance Education, or DARE, attempts to keep drugs away from kids before they become abusers.
Try to educate them now, hopefully remember this when they get older.
But stopping drugs in our area won't be easy.
Until we can really help the kids 100%, we've got to figure out how to help the parents.
There's probably lacking some rehab facilities in this area. It just seems like our community is playing catch up to the problem. Some rehabilitation methods are already in place in Athens County. The Athens County Empowerment Program requires some drug offenders to go to treatment instead of jail or prison. The prosecutor's office hopes that treating those addicted will help with Athens' drug problem. Reporting live for Athens MidDay, I'm Heather Moore.
To get more information on drug prevention programs in our area, please visit us at athensmidday.com. 2 more people are facing felony charges in connection with the shooting at Youngstown State University. The attack last Sunday killed 1 person and injured 11 at a fraternity house near YSU's campus. The Youngstown Municipal Clerk of Court's office says 20-year-old Demetrius Wright is charged with tampering with evidence. 18-year-old Jamel Jackson is charged with carrying a concealed weapon. 2 other suspects have been charged with aggravated murder, shooting into a house, and felonious assault. A funeral was held Saturday for YSU senior Jamel Johnson, who was killed in the shooting.
Authorities say a fire was deliberately set at a restaurant in Marietta, Ohio on Sunday. The state fire marshal's office says the fire at Austin's restaurant was arson. If you have any information about the fire, please contact the state fire marshal or the Marietta Police Department. 2 OU students reported that this weekend someone entered their house, rummaged through their rooms, and poured beer and soda on their clothing. The incident took place at 25B North Congress, where the women say the upstairs bedroom window and the front door were open when they returned home. No charges have been filed.
The Ohio State University recently completed a long and pricey investigation into a system-wide email hack that occurred during winter intersession. Athens MidDay reporter Justin Sampson is live in the newsroom with some advice for students here in Athens who want to avoid a similar incident.
Well, many people may not realize it, but their email accounts are constantly at risk of being hacked. Ever since the attack on Ohio State's computer system, the Office of Information Technology has released a series of tips on how students can avoid a similar hack here at Ohio University.
The best defense students and staff can have against an email virus at OU is to be in the know. OIT Communications Manager Sean O'Malley says the simplest way to prevent being hacked is to keep your personal information to yourself.
If you get a message, for example, saying that your account needs to be verified and you need to go log in somewhere and give them your username and password, don't do it.
O'Malley says OIT will never ask students to send personal info, open an attachment, or click on a secure link inside an email. These precautions are taken to avoid a hack like the one at Ohio State, which could affect up to 760,000 OSU students and applicants and cost $4 million to investigate.
Don't log into a site and give away your personal information if someone contacted you first.
O'Malley says scam artists can send emails posing as official businesses, such as a bank, eBay, or even the OIT service desk, and that it's important to take caution when these emails ask for personal information. O'Malley says most of the problems in recent memory have been small or phishing attacks on individual accounts that are quickly dealt with. Still, many students we talked with say they don't remember seeing regular updates from OIT, but feel safe using the system anyway.
I feel safe using it. I haven't even heard of anything wrong with it. In fact,
keep them updated on what's going on campus, any suspicions that we should be concerned about, just keeping us in the loop because we are part of this campus and we deserve to know what's going on it.
OIT says it's tried to be more proactive in communicating with students since the OSU hack, but otherwise has followed procedures as normal. OIT offers free virus protection for both Apple and Mac users to both students and staff here at Ohio University. Reporting live for Athens MidDay, I'm Justin Sampson.
To find out how you can prevent email scams and how to report them to OIT, visit us online at athensmidday.com. One Ohio University student planning to run for Athens City Council in this year's election did not receive enough signatures to make the ballot. The Athens County Board of Elections informed Republican Aaron Grassel that some of the signatures he submitted were invalid. Grassel planned to run as the only Republican for one of 3 council seats. In order to be placed on the ballot, he needed 50 signatures by registered voters in Athens.
It's Valentine's Day, but if you forgot to get that special present, it may be too late. One flower shop is only open for delivery of flowers already ordered. Jack Neal Floral on Union Street is gearing up for a busy day. The sign here says the business isn't open, but the door was open. Delivery drivers are getting ready to take the flowers out to folks in Athens, but they won't be stopping at everyone's door. One student here at Ohio University says she doesn't even celebrate Valentine's Day with her significant other.
Really no point into it. We only see each other once a month, and every time we get together it's special, so why single out one day when we're not going to be together anyways? It would just make us both sad.
It may be a little more difficult to send your significant other a bouquet of roses. According to the Columbus Dispatch, the cost of roses is up 25%. Hundreds of people diving into freezing water is not a typical sight, but nearly 300 people did just that over the weekend at Ohio University's 4th annual Polar Plunge. It was frigid fundraising with the money going to Special Olympics Ohio. The event, co-sponsored by Phi Kappa Theta fraternity and the OUPD, raised $30,000. The number of participants and money raised has gone up each year, and the fun has too. Students went out all in costumes, and Athens Mayor Paul Weil even took the plunge too.
I've been fortunate enough to be able to meet a lot of Special Olympics athletes and their families. And when you hear them talk about what that means to them to be able to participate in that, you know, building self-esteem, self-worth, and that's why, you know, we do it.
Raised $22,000, while 2009 brought in $8,000. President Obama is set to release the nation's new budget plan. How defense cuts will affect those in Ohio.
And a popular children's allergy medication is taken off the shelves. President Obama introduces his federal budget plan today, and it will impact Ohio. The defense budget is expected to hit almost $553 billion. That is expected to spare the state from major cuts, but it does propose the end of a next-generation land and water vehicle, which was going to be produced in Lima. A study by an OU professor said that full production of those vehicles would create 10,000 jobs. Now lawmakers are working on keeping the project afloat in a reduced number. Those potential state ramifications come from President Obama's proposed $3.7 trillion national budget. It pledges $400 billion in savings from a 5-year spending freeze for many government agencies. Mr. Obama's administration says the budget contains a balance of spending and cutting dollars, but Republicans are urging an emphasis on the cuts.
This is a very difficult budget. The budget saves $1.1 trillion over the next 10 years in just domestic spending.
This morning, I sent a letter to President Obama, signed by 150 economists, that say that cutting spending now will help create a better environment so that we can begin to create jobs in our country.
The new budget projects that the deficit has reached an all-time high, more than $1 trillion.
After celebrating the resignation of Egypt's former president, Hosni Mubarak, the country is now in a state of mourning. Citizens are gathering in Tahrir Square, the same place where many people were killed or injured during the protests, to remember victims of the violence. Even police officers joined the protesters at the memorial. Citizens placed flowers and photos to remember those that died within the last 18 days. The protesters are being remembered as warriors as their work led to Mubarak stepping down. But Egyptians still have concerns. Some want Mubarak to face trial and be held responsible for deaths of protesters. The former president is still in Egypt, and the country's military is still in power and will remain in power until elections are held in 6 months. Protesters are not coming to end in Yemen. Anti-pro-government supporters are clashing for the 3rd day in a row in Yemen's capital. Anti-government supporters are demanding their president step down. The protesters are turning to violence first. Protesters threw rocks. Witnesses say pro-government supporters had daggers and knives. And students and human rights activists also marched from university to Presidential Palace yesterday. The number of protesters increased from 400 to more than 1,000 by the end of the day. There is a clear influence from the protests in Egypt. Anti-government protests shouted, "First Mubarak, now Ali."
If you have a little one with allergies, listen up. Chewable children's Zyrtex has been pulled from shelves until 2012. It's important to note that the tablets are not being recalled. Parenting.com is reporting that the availability is affected because production is being moved in-house from an outside supplier. Zyrtec liquid gels and tablets are still available and are safe for children ages 6 and older. Football recruiting season just came to a pause, but ESPN is doing some scouting of its own right here in Athens. The worldwide leader in sports is considering Athens High School for a series that helps schools fix up facilities. Athens City School Superintendent Carl Martin says that ESPN representatives have been to Athens High 3 times. One of those former visits came from former Ohio State linebacker and ESPN analyst Chris Spielman. The school has been fundraising to make improvements after Basil Rutter Field was heavily damaged because of the tornado. It's windy, but it sure feels like spring outside in Athens today. Are the warmer temperatures here to stay?
And in sports, a hockey fight you don't want to miss.